Hey you guys, it's Mr. Wilson here to help you with your quest to solve this Rubik's Cube. So before we actually get started in putting this thing together, I wanted to show you what it looks like when it's not together. So here's a Rubik's Cube. It has this little mechanism. Notice that these things spin like this, and then these pieces all kind of connect together, helping to form the Rubik's Cube. Okay, so if we were to take it all apart and kind of explode it here, we see that, I'm going to put the light on there, that we have these centerpieces, and the centerpieces, they have one sticker, and never will they ever get more than one sticker, so that's good to know. Okay, and then we have these edge pieces right here, and these edge pieces, they're going to have only two stickers, so this edge piece would be this guy that goes right there. And then we have a corner piece, and a corner piece is a piece that will never have less than 3 stickers, and a corner will always stay a corner. As I rotate this cube around, this corner will be a corner, but just over here. This corner will now be the corner over here, and it'll never move to be a center piece or an edge piece. Okay, now if we were to just look at our Rubik's Cube, and we can see that this is a solved Rubik's Cube, completely solved, and that's our goal. Okay, so if I was to just rotate this like that, do you think that you could put this back together to where it's solved? And you're probably looking at me or looking at the video and saying, well, yes, of course, Mr. Wilson, I just have to rotate this until I line up the colors. Okay, so let's try this. Let's say that I take this Rubik's Cube and I flip it like this and I flip it like this. Okay, could you then solve this? Could you put it back to how it was supposed to be? So notice that the green side's good, the blue side is good, but then we have these two sides where we know that this is going to be the yellow side because the center itself is yellow. So if you just simply rotate this over until we have yellow and rotate this over until we have yellow, we see that now we put the cube back together, it's solved. So let's step it up a little bit. Let's go like this and go like that, and maybe put a different dimension, and let's rotate it this way and this way. So notice that over here, we're used to what this would, how we would solve this, and then this is a little bit more complicated. Okay, so let's go with the more simple side, where we know that this is going to be the blue side because the center is blue. So we're just going to rotate the sides of the cube until we have blue matched up again. So rotate the sides of the cube until blue is matched up again. And notice that what happened here as we were rotating that, the white side is now starting to come together. So we see that these two yellow lines on this side, this is going to be the white side in the end. So we're just going to rotate this until it matches. Okay, so this is our Rubik's Cube, and let's just do one more thing. Let's say that if we were to rotate it a bunch of different ways, could we put it back together with this crazy little checkered pattern? Okay, so one of the first things to kind of really pick out with the Rubik's Cube is that this right here, this center indicates, what side it's going to be. So this is going to be blue, this will be red. What side will this be? Good, white. Okay, so we're going to start right here, and we're just going to rotate until we get white again. Okay, so there's white. We're going to rotate until it gets white again. Okay, so we see that we've got this kind of one step closer to being solved, and this is still a checkered pattern, and this is still kind of, well, it's kind of like that. So now what we're going to do is just rotate the cube, and we're going to flip it this way until the whole thing turns white. Notice what's happening here. The whole thing turns white. Okay, now all we got to do is just put the cube together. Okay, so now that we know the functionality of the Rubik's Cube, we're going to use that to our advantage, but first we need to scramble. So I'm going to go ahead and scramble this Rubik's Cube, make sure that everything is all mixed up. Now the hardest part about the Rubik's Cube is learning the first layer. Okay, but as I'm scrambling up this Rubik's Cube, I want you guys to notice that we can go to my website right here, and if you click on the Rubik's Cube and go down to where it says Wilson's Rubik's Cube Steps, it's going to have this PowerPoint that will kind of basically give you an idea of well, my method to solving the Rubik's Cube. Okay, so that's good enough. I'm going to show you a solved Rubik's Cube right here, and let's just say that we're holding the cube to where the blue side is right here, the red is right here. Okay, so if blue is facing towards me, there's some notation that's used in Rubik's Cube world. Okay, so if the blue is facing towards me, this is considered the front, and if I rotate it this way once, that's clockwise going this direction. Okay, so counterclockwise would be going rotating the cube, the face of the cube this way. So this is called the front, this is called the right side, this is the left side, okay, this is the up, this is the down, okay, this is the back. All right, so whenever it says R is representing the right side, and the right side, if it just says R, then that means it wants you to turn it clockwise. So clockwise would be like this. Okay, and then if it's talking about the left side clockwise, if I turn and look at the left side, that means that you have to rotate it this way. Okay, now if it's asking for counterclockwise, obviously that's going to be the opposite direction, but it'll usually indicate with an R and then like a prime or a R with an I or something like that. Okay. So let's look at our Rubik's Cube. We've got one. We're going to find the white side because you could solve it from any side, but we're just going to start with the white side because typically the white pieces kind of stand out whenever you're looking at your Rubik's Cube. So don't forget that our centers are our clue to figuring out what side is what it should be when it's solved. So here's the white side, and the first step is to get the white cross. Okay, as I'm looking around my cube, I'm going to put my finger like this, so that as I'm looking around I don't get lost. I could always come back to home base over here. So I see that I have a white piece right here, and it's an edge piece. Remember, the edge piece is the one that only has 2 stickers. And if I was to, well, kind of like how we were doing before, if I was to just rotate this up, I see that that's going to be lined right there. Now I want to also make sure that it's lined up with this center right here. So I have white and green, and that's my goal. I want these 2 things to be lined up. Now, there is a method to make this work a little bit easier, and they call it the daisy method. So eventually we want the white cross to be up here. But what some people really find to be easy is, you know, like a daisy flower has a yellow center. So if we get all of these pieces right here, these 4 pieces, to be white, then we can maybe do this process a little bit easier. So notice I'm going to move this up right here. Okay, and then I see another piece that's right here, and I'm going to move that guy up. And then here's a piece right here that needs to come up. Okay, so when I move this up, notice that the petal of the daisy that's right here is now moving as I move this piece up. Okay, so that's bad. We don't want to take away from what we've already created. So notice on this side, it doesn't have a white piece. What I'm going to do is rotate that side over to be right here. So when I do rotate this up, then bam, it doesn't affect anything else. Okay, so this is the daisy, and if we want to get the cross, what we're going to do is just rotate this until it lines up here, and yellow is always going to be opposite of white. So if I rotate this all the way down, it's now on the white side. So I just have to spin it twice, okay, and it's lined up with the red side. And so here, this one has to go with green, so I'm going to rotate this over until this is lined up with green, and then I'm going to bring it down to the bottom to where it's on the white side. And notice that we're starting to build this white cross. Okay, and then up top we've got orange, so I'm going to rotate this over to orange. Now that that's on orange, I could spin this down to the white side. So I'm rotating that down, spinning it on the white side. And then our last one is blue, so I'm going to rotate that over to blue and then spin that down. Okay, so nothing is left over on the yellow side, and looking at the white side, we see that we have the white cross. Now don't worry about the corners right now, but just notice that the white cross is good. This is lined up with red, this is lined up with blue, this is lined up with orange, and so on, okay? So after that, we need to get the corners. Okay, and what I would recommend is corners that are already in the corner position are great, but try to avoid those. So here, I like to see ones that when I'm looking at the Rubik's Cube, they're either facing out this way or facing out this way. Because really the Rubik's Cube is just a color matching game. Okay, all you're doing is just rotating it until we match the colors. Okay, so here I've got a white corner piece, I can tell because it's got white, and I see that it has the color scheme of green and red. And the reason why I like it in this position is because I don't even have to worry about the bottom color. All I got to do is just match it with the center. So if I spin this around until it hits red, then I know that this is the corner that goes in this position right here. Okay, so there's two ways to think about this. I'm going to show you two ways. So option number one is to do this, is that you could just look at it like this and say, oh, it's where it needs to be, but I messed up my cross, okay? And then if I bring my cross piece down, see, it messes up the corner. So notice that whenever I'm rotating and moving this side of my Rubik's Cube, this corner and this is moving at the same time. Now notice what's not moving is this corner over here. Okay, so we're going to do this little trick here. We're going to take this corner and we're going to move it over to this side temporarily as I move this side down. And what that does is that allows me to then move this back, and now those two pieces are connected. Okay, and then I can bring it back up, and we see that we've got a corner that's in the right spot. We see that it's matching all the pieces, and it's matching the centers. Very important that you keep that in mind. Okay, now I'm going to take my cube and rotate it around, and I see that I've got another white piece that's down here, and I'll show you later how to flip it if it's not. Okay, but I see that it has orange right here. This is blue, so what I'm going to do is rotate the top two pieces, layers of my cube until I match it with orange. Okay, once it's matched up with orange, I know that this piece has to go on this corner right here. Okay, now I know that I can bring it directly up, right? So we have to do that move where we move it out of the way, bring it down, move it back. Once it's together, then we can pop it up. Okay? All right, so that was the first option that I showed you and how you can do this. I'm going to show you another option. So let's see, we've got, where is it? Here's our last corner. Our last corner, oh no, we've got this corner, we got to swap it. Okay? So look at this. We've got a corner that's kind of, it looks like it's in the right position, but it's not, because we see that we got red and blue that's right here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of do the reverse or the opposite of what we did to get this corner in the right spot. And I'm going to move this down. Okay, here it is. I'm going to move it out of the way. And then I'm going to put this back to where it was. Okay? And so what that did is kind of just dissect and kind of take off that one corner piece. And now I have it right here. Okay, and I see that this is blue, so I'm going to line it over with blue. Okay, now this is a different option to solving the corner piece. Okay, I think it's a little bit faster, and as you guys want to try to get a little bit faster with the Rubik's Cube, I would recommend this method. So instead of leaving it where the white's facing towards you, just line it up with blue right here. Okay, and what you do is you do this like twofold little pattern move. Okay, so the corner needs to be right here. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm with my left hand, I'm going to spin that down. So I'm going to go down, bottom, up, pops the corner up. Okay, and that's how you can more efficiently get a corner piece in the right position. Okay, so I've got another piece right here. This is a white corner, and it's white and green, so I need to rotate it over with green. I see that it's on my left hand. Okay, and so all I'm going to do is go down, bottom, up, pops the corner up. So now if it's on this side, let me show you what you would do if it was on, actually, hold on, let's do this. Okay. So if it was on this side, this is how this would work out. So now that I'm dealing with my right hand, so this corner needs to be right here. It's matched up with green. If I go down and I move the bottom this way, okay, match up the white, down, bottom, up, pops the corner up. Okay, and there it is. That's the first layer of your Rubik's Cube. Good job.